My name is Paul Lipson. I'm the music and audio director for 343 Publishing, Halo Publishing, and I'm also audio director at Microsoft Studios Central Media. We're a central group that helps all of our internal studios and our third-party publishing partners. So I do a lot of work at Microsoft, but specifically I am the audio director for Halo Publishing. I got involved working with Halo relatively early on after the transition, when 343 took over. And I worked on a lot of the Waypoint scores. I wrote a lot of that music. And then I actually was brought in to work on producing the score for Halo Anniversary. So I was the lead on that. We transcribed that entire score and redid that and did that at Skywalker Sound in San Francisco. And I built a really close team of people that I'd been working with. And so when it came time to do Spartan Assault, I called my friend Tom Salta, who I've known for years, a brilliant composer, and I said, "Hey Tom, I think we should collaborate on this brand new score." And so we ended up producing 60 minutes of brand new music for Spartan Assault specifically. I don't think that the game mechanics affected the music choices aesthetically too much. I mean, there were some design decisions, and we kept to a very traditional and well-established Halo canon approach with the music. It's objective-based. Music happens and triggers at the appropriate time. But I think aesthetically, Tom and I spent a lot of time looking at what really is that Halo experience, what is that DNA. There's just a certain tone and sort of set of traditions that have been made very popular for Halo. It's instantly recognizable. I mean, I think that's one of the elements. There are iconic sounds in Halo music that are just very pervasive and something that fans instantly recognize. So vocal elements and using vocal techniques. For this particular score, we recorded the New York Film Chorale in New York, which is a beautiful group of singers. Also, my very close friend, Jillian Aversa, who's a brilliant singer, came in and did some of the solo vocal lines that you'll hear in the score. So adding a lovely sort of live vocal element is important to Halo. I think the chord progressions and the way we create a certain harmonic structure has a certain tone to it and a certain sound. It's very kind of Celtic in a certain way. There's sort of tribal elements in a way. So we had a harmonic structure we were looking at. There were some melodic considerations we made. And we were really thinking about the percussion and the feel. And then there's just some other, Haloisms that, for lack of a better word. I mean, it's a beautiful, wistful, longing type of sound, but then you get into your Wolverines and you want to, rock out and feel some power there. So, working with Tom is a joy because he can cover this entire emotional range, and having collaborated with him so much, we knew we could kind of get to that. I think with this particular score, we decided to do mostly virtual instruments with a lot of live sweetened recording. So we had key soloists that we used in the score. We had live drummers, we had live guitar players, we had a beautiful cello player, Tina Guo, who's an incredible player down in LA. She played on some of the cues. Jillian Aversa, we had the New York Film Chorale. So we started with a strong foundation that Tom was creating in his studio out of New York, and then we just sort of added in soloists to bring out the sort of original essence. And that is exactly what the original Halo scores have always done. But that also being said, we do use full orchestra. There's a lot of, Halo Anniversary, we used massive orchestra recorded at Skywalker Sound. It was the San Francisco Symphony players and the Bay Area players, and amazing partnership with the AFM, the American Federation of Musicians, the big musicians union, and we achieved a glorious sound, I think, out of that score as well. But I think for this particular project, we wanted flexibility, and we wanted to capture some of the modern elements as well, but also have fans feel like that classic vocal and even orchestral elements were there. Sound design was really important because we wanted to obviously have all the weapons sound like the weapons should, except this is an area where the platform change and the top-down perspective made a huge difference. So we had to attenuate everything for a more stereo image. Halo's traditionally a 5.1 first-person shooter, and this is a stereo top-down experience. So we had to work very closely to attenuate some of the sounds and change some of the assets. Take some of the close melee hits, for example, and change the perspective because the camera is, 10, 15 feet up in the air as opposed to right up in front of someone's face. So we had to look at weapons, we had to look at character sounds, we had to look at vehicles, we had to look at ambience of the world, and there's a lot of new sounds. We needed to create sound that's appropriate for the world. I mean, the environments on Dreyfus 5 are all new and all interesting. We had some references from other experiences in the universe, but we wanted to extend that and envision. Whenever you create a new Halo world, you have to envision how is this going to sound, how is this going to feel for the player, and we wanted the experience to be the same for someone who's experiencing on a Windows 8 phone, as much as a tablet, as much as sitting on their PC with a really expensive audio rig. So the good news is no matter what level you're experiencing, you're going to get that level of detail and the appropriate audio assets for all the different levels in all the worlds, and it's amazing how similar it sounds. You can have your headphones in a phone, and you could be cranking it through big speakers on your PC, and it's pretty impressive, I think. And I think the biggest challenge would be the perspective shift on where the listener is. I mean, the listener is on the camera, so changing the perspective was a huge challenge for us, especially when you're handling some of the more closer combat elements or distances. A second challenge is moving to a stereo environment as opposed to 5.1. We didn't have the advantage of hearing enemies behind you. We didn't have a surround sound capability, for example, on a Surface Pro, even though hopefully one day we will. The music is the same on all the platforms, and again, this was us using certain compression techniques and being able to move the music across all the platforms. You will get the same musical experience on any platform, and I think the best experience you have is either really high-end headphones or, of course, a great speaker system on your PC. But again, if you try to play Halo without the audio, you're missing over 50% of the experience. So, and Halo fans know that. And we did not want to let the fans down. I mean, we wanted the fans to feel like, yeah, I'm playing Halo, and when I pick up these SMGs, it feels like the SMG, and when I'm fighting the Elite, it should sound like the Elite. There's one level where we wanted to have what we were sort of calling our Saving Private Ryan moment, or a very emotional moment. And oftentimes with music, that's about juxtaposition, or putting one scene of extreme violence next to audio that is touching and more beautiful. That juxtaposition creates a more emotional sense. And people are sitting here playing this on a mobile device and hopefully feeling that same feeling. So there's a level where you're just in intense combat, just sort of blowing all the enemies away, and just the bodies are piling up, in traditional Halo fashion. But of course, with this perspective, you can see it all. And we had the most delicate, beautiful, vocal driven melodies come in, and it was this just exquisite juxtaposition of kind of this moment of intense violence but intense beauty at the same time. And I think those are some of the things that we've tried to craft that are at the core of Halo, where there's a introspectiveness, a sort of sorrow, and also a combination of hopefulness in the music. But you're also faced with these huge odds and these amazing, vistas, but then these extreme acts of, gunning down the Covenant. So we actually captured that in Spartan Assault, and I think players will recognize that moment on the level. I think treating this like a full production pipeline and delivering that on mobile devices and across the Win 8 ecosystem was just a total triumph for us. And I think we're pretty happy. We're never satisfied. There's always things to improve, but we think Halo fans should know that we really took this seriously, and it wasn't, we didn't cheap out on it at all. We took some great care to craft this audio, and we hope to keep doing that.